in August. I can't remember the dates now, but it was such a profound experience for me for a lot of reasons, on a lot of levels. Like, in that conference was the first time I was seeing a guy who was a virgin, or who is a virgin. At least he came out to say that in the public, right? And he's almost 40 years old. And if you look at this guy, you would never be able to tell that he's a virgin. Like, the way he dresses, not that there's anything wrong with the way he dresses, but he dresses really flashy. One of those guys like wear like really big chains and like the hat, whatever. Yeah. So it's like, when you think about virgins, you think about people who are just like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, prude or whatever. But that's not how this person looks. So it was really surprising. And it was also, I would say, very sort of kind of makes you think, like, wow, that's an interesting journey. Like, kind of got me curious, like, what has been your journey as a guy, especially as a guy in this day and age? I mean, it's one thing for a girl to be a virgin, but a guy, I don't come across that too often, or I mean, it's not really talked about a lot. And even if there are guys that are virgins, like, they don't talk about it a lot, because I can almost imagine it's not looked at as cool. I mean, being abstinent is already like you're on the extreme, and I can now imagine as a guy what kind of peer pressure you'll be getting from all that. So it was really cool to see. It was a profound experience so far. I'll put in clips here on about the conference and things. I actually even kind of did a post on it on my Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, it's the same handle, so definitely follow me on there. So I'm using this Smashbox. I'm just gonna use it to highlight under my eyebrow. Oh, the first thing I used actually was, I love this Danessa Myricks water powder serum. It's definitely a staple in my makeup routine going forward. Okay, so another thing that really got me thinking about like this whole video and just coming on here to talk about abstinence, I feel like abstinence is not talked about a lot in the church. I mean, even if it's talked about, it's like, oh, we know, there's, this sort of people frowning against like sex and, casual sex and all that, but why? What is the main reason? Like, I feel like that should be talked about more in the church. Instead, that's either not talked about, or we just dilly-dally around the topic. And I think that's just like, kind of making the situation worse, in my opinion. Yeah. So, and it's funny because in my experience, now that I'm dating, for me, it's a big thing. Like, I want to be equally yoked with my future partner, and I want somebody who is as active in their faith as me. And so, that obviously, naturally, that's gonna be one of my filters, right? So most of the guys, obviously, that I meet and go on a date with, they're Christian guys. At least they're self-acclaimed Christian guys. I mean, who am I to judge? But it's funny that when I bring up this abstinence thing, like, it's a no-no for them. It's almost like, why are you talking about that? Are you serious? You're in 2025. I'm like, dude, aren't you a Christian? You're committing sin, right? You're living in sin. That's what I see in my mind. And I'm like, okay, well, who am I to judge? I was where you were, and I guess everybody's Christian's journey or faith journey is different, and I don't know what stage they are, but it's always been kind of alarming to me where everybody tends to do what's right, or try to live a Christian life, but when it comes to abstinence, is like we're dilly-dallying around the issue, right? So, and that's just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I remember one guy that I met. I think I have met like at least 3 or 4 guys who were all Christians, right? Or told me that they were Christians, anyways. And I think that whenever it came to the fourth guy, I started asking myself, like, man, is this abstinence even worth it? Because that fourth guy really just had everything that I was looking for. Like, he checked the boxes, right? As we always say, check the boxes. He checked the boxes, and so when this whole talk about abstinence came up, man, like we just stopped talking after the whole discussion. Like, really, like, and it got me thinking. I was like, man, like, I don't know, is this even worth it? Like, and I think, yeah, I think whenever I started thinking that, I think that's when I learned about the Sexless Tribe. I think God was just trying to tell me, hey, you're not alone and stuff like that. Um, because that really hurt really bad, and I started talking about it to my friends, and they were like, oh well, you should have at least given him something to look forward to. You can't really tell somebody like upfront like that you're gonna be abstinent. I mean, I think you should have allowed him to get to know you a little bit better. Maybe he can change his mind. And while all that factually makes sense, and that's an objective way to look at it, but I'm just like, am I not clickbaiting him? Like, I already know what it's gonna be. So why don't I just let him know upfront, right? And say, oh, this is where I am. What do you think? At least, have that conversation upfront. That's my opinion, right? But I say all of this to say, you know, that just was something that kept on being a reoccurring phenomenon in my daily life, and I just it was becoming a bother to me, right? I started thinking, I was like, hey, I don't know if this is even worth it. Like, being abstinent, okay, like, well, because the argument out there is, okay, what if you're abstinent and then you meet somebody who and your sex life suffers in marriage because of that. But my counter argument is, sex, we're supposed to explore each other. Like, we're not supposed to come into marriage already like experienced, like we know the I mean, it's good if that's the case. I'm not speaking against it. Maybe you've read books about, yeah, I don't know. But the whole point is to learn our bodies, learn how to satisfy each other sexually within the confines of marriage, I think. So that whole argument about, oh, what if we're not sexually compatible? You can learn how to be sexually compatible, especially if the person that you're with is open to learning that. And I think that's a conversation that needs to happen, even before marriage. I would almost, by the way, I'm using the Huda beauty palette. I've had this palette for a really long time. This is the one I'm using here. As you can see, I've used the hell out of this palette. But I will almost argue that if abstinence was a thing in relationships, right, you will find that people will talk about sex more as with the intent of learning each other and helping each other to learn each other, if that makes sense. So that we're now in this place where it becomes okay for us to have that conversation, because I feel like there is a lot of marriages out there where they're not able to have that conversation. Like, they know that they're not being satisfied by their partners, and it's awkward for them to have that conversation because it's not being something that was on the table in the first place. So having that conversation is like, okay, it's kind of heavy. But I feel like in a sexless relationship that would end up into marriage, when you guys are able to have such conversations, you can kind of gauge where that person is and see if it's something you want to continue to explore. And now you guys are doing it not from the angle of, oh, I want to be this porn star in my marriage, but from the angle of, hey, this is somebody I'm in alignment with, and I also want to be aligned in my sexual life with this person. So, and one thing that really stood out to me was with me going to this conference. I think at that same time there was a different conference happening in Atlanta, and when I tell you the amount of reactions I got, with me, to me, saying I was attending an abstinence conference, it was kind of interesting. At some point, I was like, oh, I'm not even going to tell anybody that I'm here for this abstinence conference. I'll just say I'm here for Invest Fest, because Invest Fest was happening that same weekend. But on the second thought, I was like, no, like, yeah, more people need to know that being abstinent is cool. Like, I imagine a world where like it becomes cool again to be abstinent, right? Just for a split second, imagine that world with me, wherein two people get together not because they want to they're sexually attracted to each other, but they are in alignment with each other as far as their goals, their dreams, their ultimate purpose here on earth is. They're on alignment on that level, right? And so, without sex in question, where in this stage, at this in this type of scenario, it becomes sex becomes more of, oh, we're here to satisfy each other, we're here to explore our bodies, we're here to learn each other, we're here to be in alignment. And so I feel like if we can get to that place, we will be able to the society will be able to produce more meaningful relationships, more meaningful relationships that then lead to more aligned marriages, and more aligned marriages will lead to a better family structure, and a better family structure will lead to us producing better individuals in the society. So I can see abstinence, although as trivial or as uncool as it may sound, might actually be a rippling effect that actually affects society in a very positive way. So I don't know, I think it should be talked about more. And, I think one of the things for me with me actually talking about it is like, man, I don't know. Like, at some point I was like, is this even worth it? Like, if I'm gonna be missing out on quote unquote good relationships because I'm abstinent. But on the other hand, man, the kind of peace I've experienced in this period of being abstinent, right? And I'm not gonna say how long I've been abstinent, but my dad is gonna watch this, and I don't know. And my family members are gonna watch this thing. So, but all you need to know is the amount of time, in the amount of time I've been abstinent, like there's been so much peace, so much mental clarity, so much focus. Like, I've been able to start my YouTube channel, my content creation. I've created a community, Hiker Dallas, two communities right there in University. Like, the creative ability that I have mustered in this short period of time is remarkable. I mean, if not for anything else, I would definitely say everybody needs to experience abstinence at least once in their life. At least. I mean, we're not, leave the religious part out of it now. Let's just say abstinence by itself. Everybody, I think I'll definitely recommend it. Everybody needs to experience abstinence at least once in their lives, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know if you're out there, if you're abstinent, if you're dating while abstinent. I want to even hear from folks that are dating while being abstinent. Like, and how long have you dated? Like, I mean, I have never dated while abstinent. Like, that's gonna be uncharted territories for me. And I feel like it will take a situation where both of us are in alignment on that for that to actually really work, right? So I want to hear from people who have been abstinent. Like, how have you navigated your relationships? Has it been hard? Has it been easy? Has it been blissful? Because I am still. I don't know how people do this get ready with me videos. I don't know how to talk when I'm making up. I guess it's a different level of focus, and I'm still learning that. So I am still on this journey, and I'm relying on the Holy Spirit for grace and discernment. That's all I can say. So if you've been on, or if you are on this abstinent journey, let me know. Let me know what your experience has been. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys. I think I'm gonna have to turn this camera off here, and I'll show you guys the finished look. I said looked. I think I'm gonna have to turn this camera off here, and I'm gonna show you guys the finished look. Okay. All right. So here is the finished look.